Got some batteries that are probably frozen. An ether can with about 2 sprays left. And let's go see if the old junker wants to start the old Ford. Well, I'll put the old key on. Oh yeah, I told you it only had 2 sprays left. Oh, this thing's loyal. Come on. It's not even leaking. Oh, come on, man. Where's that button? There it is. We got oil pressure, that's nice. I haven't checked the oil for like a year. For those of you that don't know, which is probably all of you, this is my truck here, 1983 Ford F-250 4x4, 4-speed standard, 6.9 IDI. Built my own bumper, did all sorts of different stuff to it. Pulled it out of the bush last year, had been sitting for 15 years, still running on that old diesel because I haven't ran it a crazy amount. I finally got the insurance papers for it. So now the master plan of what I've been trying to do with this truck is about to happen. I'm hoping. As you can see, this is a redneck built turbo kit here. I did not build it. I was walking to the junkyard the one day, popped the hood on this one truck when I was looking for parts, and I was like, what the hell? There's 2 turbos sticking out of this sucker. So yeah, grabbed the parts there, bought it off the guy at the junkyard. The turbos are not happy, but they'll figure it out, alright? They'll figure it out once they get a little bit of pressure put to them. Well, here she is, there, the old 6.9. I put new injector return lines in those little plastic caps, because those were leaking, of course. They all do that. I resealed the rad, did all sorts of stuff. I put a button so you can crank it under the hood, and I put an auxiliary switch, so if you had to, there's a wire that sits there curled up. You can click on the pump, pop that switch, and run her from under the hood only without turning the rest of the truck on. Muffler delete. Let me just get rid of this piece of junk muffler. That's better. Now that the exhaust system isn't connected to the manifolds, I'll try not to break the bolts that hold them on. And if any of them do break, we might be pulling the motor out, which could suck, but it's just the way she goes. They definitely did that right. It's so nice being able to remove that inner fender. So much space. The reason I'm removing the inner fender is because them stupid little clips there, if you can see them on the bolts. So I gotta pry those backwards so that I can actually put a socket on the bolts to figure out if I'm pulling the motor or not. Please be good to me. Please be good to me. All of the bolts are coated with oil, so they came out pretty well. Of course, the first 3 were really easy to get to, and they were barely even tight, but all the rest of them were actually kind of tight. All the manifolds are off, and I won't be needing them, so I can send them to the shadow realm, along with the mufflers. And they all came off good there, the bolts, all that. Forgot I had to relocate this, so it's not a big deal, but I'll relocate the fuel thing here. Put her over here. Then the turbo can sit in that spot, and then I gotta replace the heater core too. I forgot about that. And then I should be able to start assembly of the turbo system. Unless I forgot something. I probably forgot something.
I'm retarded?
When you're taking this box off to get to the heater core, you're supposed to take the cowl off so you can get to the back side of this bolt here, because it has a nut on the other side, you gotta hold it back, whatever. I just melted her up with the torch, and you know, she slipped right off, so don't have to do all that extra BS. Heater core all wrapped up, I'll just throw her in, and then start reassembly of the airbox. Matt came and gave me a hand tonight there. Well, we got the valve covers on all nicely, siliconed up. This manifold's on solid. All this, the other two are just there, just for mock-up. And I knew it was going too good, because if you sit the turbo down here, she's hitting this, the old airbox I just put in last night. Just working on the second manifold here. Looks like she's got a crack, so I'd better fix that. Other manifold's all on there, so I was just working on the fuel system and such, and I was just putting it together, and then it looks like the previous guy that built the kit, he made his own bolt here, and he didn't do a very strong weld because I snapped it pretty easy. And I was trying to tighten the little fuel filter holder to the little bracket that he made. So what I did is I took the fuel filter holder, where did I put it? Here she is. So I just rethreaded these there, so they're 1/2 inch threads. But now since they're 1/2 inch threads instead of 3/8, instead of being a 3/8 hole, I'm having to redo the little tiny little brackets here. Not a big deal. I'll just grind that down and weld a washer to get some strength. Fuel system's all installed. I just gotta prime it up and get the motor running. But I'm gonna turn the injection pump to the max first and get all that done. If you're looking for a video on how to do that, I'll leave a link to one in the description. And yeah, it's not worth me showing you because there's like hundreds of people who've made videos on how to do that. So, and they explain it way better than I ever could. So yeah, I'll turn it up, put it back, all this little stuff back together, and then prime her up and get her running. Well, I bottomed out the screw, so now we'll see if she'll fire up. It's gonna have a little trouble, of course. It's got air in the system, but we'll sort that out. Oh, she barks. Well, ain't that just beauty? She's running good. There's no leaks except just a little leak off this sucker. Not a big deal.
The next day.
I took her out for a little spin, you know, just to make sure the fuel system wasn't leaking. I was really liking the hood stack concept. I mean, all your smoke is just going right in your vision and just boom right over the cab. But, yeah, so now I gotta move the project on. So that airbox was contacting, so I'll show you what I'm working on here. This is the original heater core. Set her down gently, siliconing all the way dry. But I cut this part right, cut it flush with this because it used to stick out to like here and the heater core was sideways. So I put the heater core in this way, siliconed it last night, still setting up because in Canada it's not plus 20 like it's supposed to be for silicone. And so now I'm just making little filler plates here. Like this one goes right here to fill this little hole in, and then this one's gonna go over here and making another one. So I'll fill all this in and make it flow smoothly. And then what I'll do is, instead of having the flapper that they originally had in here, so you could control between hot and cold, I'm gonna have a valve that's controllable from the cab, because Toyota had a little valve that had a cable on it. So in your truck, on like the 90s Toyotas, when you'd move the lever, it would open or close the valve on the heater core, and then it was much simpler than having a flap in there. So that's what I'll just make the original cable that's already in this old grill do. Just working on the intake here, torched some holes, drilled some holes for fittings and such. But I've put 3/8 fittings on the back here, and then I'll have 2 fittings that are the same as airlines. One for the boost gauge, another one for like electronic ether injection. Not for horsepower, just for firing up in the morning, because you know, 6.9 IDI stuff. And so yeah, my plan is to cut these fittings apart, and then I can use this to house for my nipple for my boost gauge. Hopefully that'll all work out. I don't know if you can weld on these things yet, so I'm just gonna test that now. Just a pile of welding and a pile of little time-consuming but not tough fabrication. So I'll get after it. So it's looking like I can't weld these. I don't know if you can see there, but just snap, crackle, pop is all they did. But I can weld these ones here, so I guess I'm using these. I mean, she looks a little funky, but there you go. I got 5 accessory ports, and the intake's basically done. Intake's all mounted, silicone up. I got plugs on all the caps I'm not using. Boost gauge is all hooked up and put in the cab. Now I'll put this turbo on here, and I won't put this one on yet because the airbox is still being a bit of a word, because to keep building it here I got to build it piece by piece by piece. So it's put a piece in, silicone it. Once the silicone sets, put another piece on top, right? So bit of a pain. That's really the holdback right now. So the backs of the turbos came off all good. I got the nut inside the washer here ready to weld, so I'm going to make a little plate that's going to go in here, because wastegates are for the weak. Okay, so what I'm doing is I got that all welded up, right? So I put a bolt like this across that's straight, barely tack welded, just a little tack, and then I'll set it in here, and then once it's set in, that'll hold it at the right height for me, because I have no other way of holding it because I don't have a magnet stick. And then I'll weld the edges, and then grind the tiny little tack, pop that off, fit full weld. Well, the wastegates are welded on both turbo now. I just set it in there like I was saying with the bolt. And I was just figuring out my exhaust, so I think I'm going 3-inch right off the turbo all the way to behind the cab, and then I'll just side dump right behind the cab is the plan. But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to follow right here, like right behind the turbo, 90 down, right in between the shock mount here and my pyrometer gauge and brake lines. So come down here behind the tire. I already checked, there should be enough clearance because the tire is at full steer right now. So if I bring the exhaust right here, go over top the brake line, down, and then it's easy from here. I'll just try and hug nice and close to the frame. And it should be all good, so I'll do that on both sides as a plan. The old heater box here is done. Everything's siliconed, all the sides are on. You got everything put together here, and you know, the wrong screw's better than no screws, so it'll be alright. And of course I broke, they're pretty flimsy, these little holders here, the little bolt things, so I broke this one off. So I'll just put a self-tapper there, because, I mean, that's going to hold it even better than factory anyways. So yeah, I'll slap that in, and then that means I can actually put that other turbo on, since this will be in place. You know, I might do this modification on other trucks if I have to replace the heater core. That's so nice, so much more space towards the valve covers and the manifold. I did a little research on the turbos here. They're GM-8s, and they came off a Chevy 6.5, the turbo Detroit diesel there. 93 to 98, I'm pretty sure, is when those are made. Took some time. I got all the oil lines hooked up to the turbos. They're all solid mounted. Silicone's drying on the returns. So yeah, the one oil pressure comes from back here. This is the old oil pressure sensor. So there's just a T there, and it comes from there. The other one gets its main feed from down on the side of the engine block. There's a little accessory port. The only reason I'm not starting this right now, just to hear it, is, well, one, it's going to be blowing hot air right here back at things over this way. And two, I got silicone drying, so I don't want oil to touch it and then dilute it. Before we continue, I know some of you that are very smart are thinking, why the hell are you putting 2 turbos on an international motor that has 20.5 to 1 compression? If these turbos, you're saying, put 35 psi in there, the head gaskets go like that. Alright? And that's fully valid. You're completely right. But this is more a test, alright? This motor's factory, right? It's got tons of blow-by. It's not been taken care of. It's not built. It's not head-studded. So this setup, I'm getting it all ready. I'm going to blow this motor, most likely. See how long she lasts. And then I'll build a motor to try and take about 30 psi, 35.
Good luck. Thank you.
Oh, and the other thing. This motor is an 83. So the 83 was the only year, the 6.9, that had less compression. From factory, they had 20.5 to 1 instead of 21.5 to 1. Which ain't much less, but it should be safe for about 18 psi instead of 14 psi. Now, as some of you know, when you're doing this kind of fabricating work, you're going to want to eyeball everything. Got her all tack welded there, so time to full weld it. That piece will just cover there. Oh, would you look at that? Just gotta give her a couple little welds. The flange with the 90 there worked all good. Got some flex pipe here coming down. And then finished up my little Komodo dragon looking exhaust chunk there.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
To go right down from that sucker to the bottom of the cab. So I just gotta put her up right here. See, there's the hole, there it goes there. And then I got a 5-foot chunk of 3-inch straight. So I'll weld that to this. Go straight back. It should end up about half a foot behind the cab, and I'll just side dump. Well, there we go. Well, both exhaust systems have flex pipes now. It's not done, but fire up and drive her out the shop here. Not gonna do a test drive. I ain't got time for that today. It's just to get her out of the way because we got some important things to fix. Oh, come on, these dead old batteries. She's drowning now. I'll just go make sure she ain't puking oil all over. That could be catastrophic.
Several days later.
Might as well go for a little drive. I'm gonna be fully honest with you, this isn't my first drive I've done with this thing. So not like my reaction or nothing. It's gonna be tough to see the gauges here. It doesn't make much boost. One of those trucks that sounds cool. Definitely not the power I was hoping for, but I mean it's definitely better than it was. Sorry about the bad lighting, but I got her all did up pretty nice here. Put the hood on, cut a hole that fits over this nice. Got the inner fender all in. Exhaust is still where it was because I don't have the flanges. Those will be coming in a few days. Just had the clearance. It wasn't too bad of a hole I had to cut. Did a little clearancing here for the oil line. Had to cut a little bit off the turbo here. But she fits pretty nice. I'm pretty happy. I thought it would stick out a lot more, but it's nice and tucked away. I mean, you can definitely still tell there's an air filter, but not too bad. I like it.
4 to 6 more days later.
Alright, so I got a new boost gauge, so it should give us some more accurate reading, because the other one was kind of a little whoop-deed. And yeah, I'll just go for a couple little drives here. about 12 psi. That's all she'll really do. I've never took it on the highway though, because I don't have a driver's license yet. So I guess time will tell what she maxes out at, but I don't expect it to be any more than 14. So a single turbo would have been more efficient, but I like the sound of the twin, so I'm happy. Now the exhaust isn't done yet because I haven't got the parts in yet, and I don't really have the time right now anyways. The next time that you see this truck will probably be when I'm building a motor for it, because this one's not going to last too long, considering it's already got a lot more blow-by than it used to have.